Alright guys and girls, ladies and gentlemen here. News just in. China zeroes in near on outer space. Next battle, modern. US, China. China putting like spaceships in the sky and satellites in outer space. Are they trying to make out war things in the space against America, what they're trying to do? Is it China that sent them drones out, or Russia? And America shot them down on the Earth, of the UFOs. Let's see what we can figure out, guys, boys and girls. And you can understand what's been said. I'm going to press play on here. We can enjoy it and watch it. Tell what you think. That makes any sense.
The incident today, though, comes as the Chinese try to beat the U.S. in a new battlefield called Near Space. That is the area within 60 miles above the Earth's surface. And China wants to nominate it. And as we've seen from the spy balloon, maybe they are. Will Ripley is out front.
China's new superpower battlefield, 12 to 60 miles above the Earth. Too low for satellites, too high for most jets. The stratosphere, or as China calls it, Near Space. In 2018, the Chinese military's official newspaper said Near Space has become a new battlefield in modern warfare.
Felix has landed safely back to Earth.
More than a decade ago, Felix Baumgartner's free-fall jump from Near Space captivated the world and may have caught the attention of Chinese President Xi Jinping. As early as 2014, he ordered China's Air Force to speed up air and space integration and sharpen their offensive and defensive capabilities. He prioritized development of hypersonic weapons, solar-powered drones, and high-altitude balloons, all designed for near-space flight in the stratosphere's thin air. China's not alone. The U.S. and others are jumping into the near-space race. Back in 2012,
TV went off.
a CNN camera captured the view from 100,000 feet on a high-altitude weather balloon. China's suspected spy balloon, which the Pentagon claims was carrying high-resolution cameras and electronic monitoring equipment, could have captured crystal-clear images of highly sensitive areas and monitored military communications, in some ways outperforming China's advanced spy satellites.
When you have something that's up at 70,000, 100,000 feet, you can see the horizon over 300 miles away, just something you really can't do from an aircraft. Now, you can do that from a satellite, but a satellite is pretty expensive to get up there. It takes a little bit of planning to launch it, and then you can't exactly change what it does or fix it once it's there.
Navy divers are combing the waters off the Carolina coast so the FBI can piece together the debris of what China calls a civilian weather balloon. Unlike these weather balloons launched by hand from Cape Canaveral, Florida, the Chinese balloon was massive, some 200 feet tall, with a 90-foot, possibly solar-powered payload, the size of 3 city buses. A source familiar with congressional briefings on the balloon said some components had English writing. It's not clear if they were made in America or another Western country. And there is a growing list of countries that are jumping into this near-space race, Aaron. China and the United States, of course, also Russia, the United Kingdom, Japan, Israel, South Korea. The list goes on. And this is going to pose incredibly new challenges to the security of the United States and all countries around the world, because not only are these cheaper than satellites, but they're more maneuverable, easier to operate, and as we've seen, much harder to detect.
It's amazing. All right, thank you very much, Will Ripley. And I want to go now to retired Air Force Lieutenant General Charlie Tuna Moore. He was also the former Vice Director for Operations for NORAD, which, of course, was central in the taking down of that object today, General Moore. So the Pentagon says that object is about the size of a small car. At 40,000 feet, they say it was a possible threat to civilian aircraft. I understand that that's smaller than the balloon, which was 3 buses. But to the average person watching, something flying around that's the size of a small car is nothing to sneer at. What do you think it is?
Well, that's a great question, Aaron. At this point, we still don't know. But I would anticipate in the coming hours or days, as we recover the pieces of the wreckage, we're going to have a really good idea of exactly where it originated, who belonged to, and what it was up to.
Now, you know, obviously you know so much about this sort of near space thing, maybe the donut hole. We focus on Earth, we focus on space, and that space in between, certainly China's put a lot of effort in there, as we now are very well aware of. Do you think that this object likely came from China too?
Well, we simply don't know. I mean, we'd have to speculate. I think the key point to remember, though, based on the reporting that we just had, is don't think about this as single balloons or single events. We need to think about this as part of a broader enterprise that China's developed from an intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance perspective. They're putting things in space. They obviously have airborne aircraft, manned and unmanned. They could fly off the coast and stay outside the 12-mile limit. They have cyberspace forces to conduct those types of missions. And now, of course, they're exploiting the near space.
And we know the spy balloons are part of an extensive Chinese surveillance program, as you point out, right? So, you know, all these reports about all these objects of UFOs, you know, some people were sort of scoffing when others said, oh, it's got to be China. Well, now it appears that plenty of those quote-unquote UFOs were Chinese surveillance equipment. Are you worried at this point, and you know more than anybody about what's happening, you know, given the roles that you had and your role in intelligence and NORAD, are you worried about how much we don't know about what the Chinese are doing in terms of spying on the U.S. right now?
I'm not worried. We have the best intelligence organizations in the world, and they do a very good job of keeping us abreast of what's going on in areas like this so that we can stay ahead of the curve. I think we just got a little bit surprised in this particular incident, talking about the spy balloon, that it showed up over the United States as quickly as it did.
Yeah. All right. Well, General Moore, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Madness, eh? Good. Anyway, end the video. Thank you for joining me. See you next one. Peace. Pringles.